Hello, everybody, and welcome to Muddy River News This Week. I'm Bob Gough. My guest today is Reverend Orville Jones with First Baptist Church. As always, welcome, sir.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Bob, and we've had a long history together, and,
yes, sir.
And it has been wonderful knowing you across all of these years, and so what a blessing to be here with you today.
Well, first off, let's talk about the important stuff. You've got a very important event coming up on Saturday.
Oh, it is, and I think this is, as I've said before, I think this is Quincy's finest moment, and it is our back-to-school help fair. Started about 25 years ago in the basement of First Baptist Church with the Women's Aglow program and some other things like that. And it has morphed into a major affair.
Yeah, and it's expanded. I know I've been out there more than once, and
yes,
to just see the people, to see it grow, and you guys helping all the folks out there, it's just great stuff.
It's a blessing to be able to help them and to be able to serve them the way that we are. And so this year we're going to be doing some of the same things that we've done for years now, but we also have some things that are going to be very special. So, of course, we have, starts off with the book bags, and we have various churches throughout the city of Quincy who, under the auspices of Reverend Brett Gostelli, pastor at Luther Memorial, they're putting together book bags at every grade level from kindergarten up through grade 12.
Wow, that's great stuff.
And so we will have book bags available for them with the supplies in them for these grade levels and those classes. We also have several vendors who come from various aspects of Quincy and various places throughout the Quincy area who will be bringing their things to help give the kids things that they need to have. So we have things like the United Way that provides all of the Kleenex boxes that the kids need to have. They have to have a couple of boxes per student, and so they bring those boxes every year. And then in addition to that, we have the physicals that are prerequisites for certain grade levels. And so those physicals are provided by the docs that are completing their residency here at SIU, and they're coordinated by Dr. Tim Ott. And we're very happy for those young people doing what they do and offering that level of professionality that I think is so very keen and very important. And then we have dentists who come. And they provide dental exams for all of the students. And in addition to that, we have eye exams and H&H lead screenings. And for the little babies and families that have little babies, they're going to have immunizations that are offered through the Adams County Health Department. And so there's just so much that takes place that day. And I cannot leave out the clothing.
Right.
They do give away clothing for the students, and gym shoes and tennis shoes, all kind of stuff they need to have. And for the girls that want to have their hair styled and cut and whatever they call it, I don't know all that. You know all that stuff these ladies do.
Yeah, just you and I don't.
Yeah, right. That's right. But whatever it is they do,
sure.
They're going to do that.
That's
okay,
right.
For the girls and for the guys, they have haircuts that are going to be taking place. And we thank God for a new leader this year, Risha Brock is going to be the person who is leading that effort. And so we have people from all walks of life that are volunteering and helping in so many different ways.
School district's also involved as well, correct?
The school district is very much involved in that, and it is housed at Iles School. Out on North 12th Street, and it will begin Saturday, the 3rd of August, and it'll begin at 8 o'clock in the morning and go to 11.
I think it's just amazing the way that this has expanded and grown. I mean, I remember when you first started out, like you said, in the church basement and expanded in the church yard, and now having a facility like Iles available that's on the west end of town that can really, really facilitate this and allows you to do so much more.
Yes, it did, and and we outgrew the church and the churchyard years and years and years ago. So that involved housing and allowing us to use their clubhouse there, and then we also used a couple of churches, and housing gave us an apartment or two an empty apartment to use for cutting hair and all kind of things. So we were spread out across the way, and then of course for a while we had the school system provide buses because we did all of the physical exams and the dental things at the health department after they built the new building. And so it has morphed into now having one centralized location with many different pods in it, and just an excellent facility to allow people to come in, do a one-stop shopping, so to speak, to get everything done.
And that's Saturday coming up. This is airing on Friday, so tomorrow at Iles School, starting at 8 o'clock, right?
Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can come. Don't worry about income verifications or anything of that nature. We don't need any of that. We just want you to come get the supplies you need, get the physicals done, everything that you need to have done that day, no cost.
It's great.
No cost, and it does. If you're part of District 172, that's our primary group that we're serving. But we also have served people from Keokuk, from Hannibal, from different places who've had need and wanted to come and get supplies. We do not turn them away. Well, they are welcome.
It's a great service, and again, thank you and all your team for doing this.
We do want to remind them, though. Let me do that very quickly. Make sure, students, that you have your parents with you.
Yes.
You need to have your parents with you. Parents are absolutely necessary for the physicals, for some of the other things, as well as receiving the book bags and other items. So come with as a family. Last year we served over 1,100 families.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And it was a blessing to be able to do that.
You know, you mentioned the family aspect of all this. You know, our friend Reverend Terry's been on a bit of a mission lately.
Yes, he
has.
And
I just think, you know, that, and again, his calling out and trying to figure out how we can help these kids, you know, a little better in the learning aspect of it. And I know the school has a major role in that, but the school's role is still secondary to the family role.
That's exactly right. I think the family, it's been an apt adage that says the mother and father are the first teachers that a student ever has. And so it really, education begins in the home. The desire to be educated, the thirst, if you will, for learning, the awakening of that learning process begins in the home. And so I think the family structure is the backbone of any society, whether that's Quincy or any place.
In your role as a pastor, and talking about this role with the education, with the kids and the help fair and all this, you're really on that ground level. But also, you also recently began another role, and that's you also serve at the end time. And again, you've done this as a pastor for years. You've provide over numerous services for your congregation, for people in the community. But you also have a role with the O'Donnell Cookson Life Celebration Home now. And what's your role in that?
Well, I have a very interesting role in that. I'm working with some parts of the end time part and the funeral side, but my primary role is as a pre-need counselor. And so what I do is to help facilitate and serve people who want to take care of their final arrangements ahead of time, so that you eliminate that burden on the family of figuring out, okay, well, we got to bury mom, but who's going to pay for burying mom, and what casket are we going to get in? What did she want, and how did she want this to go? And so my role is to do that and facilitate those desires, those wants, ahead of time, and also to give people an opportunity to pay for those things ahead of time. So when those moments do come, it's already taken care of. It's already prepared. And there's some real advantages to doing that because
Sure.
you get to lock in certain prices and lock in certain things that will help keep the costs down as much as possible. Inflation has been hitting us on every hand. And
Sure.
you don't pay what you used to pay 2 years ago
That's
for
true.
a loaf of bread.
That's true.
And a gallon of gas. Well, all of us know that.
We all know. Yeah.
So inflation's all around, and it's hit the funeral industry just as much as it's hit anything else. And
Sure.
so to be able to lock in some of those costs, I think is so very key and very important. And to be able to remove that burden from the family when they're already burdened enough with the passing. And to not have all of that on them is just a tremendous blessing. So that's what my role is primarily. But I also am doing some things on the funeral side, and got some things I'm going to be doing academically as well. So
right.
It's going to be an exciting time, and it's great to be at a funeral home that is unique in its presentation and in how they do things. And so I often say. Old Donald Cookson is a funeral. It's a life celebration home like no other. And
we are very blessed to have a lot of funeral homes locally that are run by families and have been run by families for a long time who provide these kind of services and really can
the Hall family, the Spear family,
Duker
the
Hall,
Gough family, the Cookson family, all of them.
They've all great. They just do great. It is such a need, and again, it's one of those things where of course, there's going to be the time in your role. You can help someone when they're anticipating it, but then you also have the time where you're not anticipating it, where it comes out of the blue, and you've got to serve in that role. Speaking of that, I know. Again, right in our neighborhood, in our state capital, we recently had a terrible tragedy involving a woman, Sonya Massey, who was gunned down by a police officer. That's the kind of tragedy. That's the kind of just awful instance that can really impact not only a community but a state and a nation. What have you, when you've had people in your community talk about this? What have the conversations been?
Well, many of them have in the community that I serve have talked about. It's an extension of a mindset that devalues life based on color, based on the hue of one's skin, rather than the content of one's character. That's been the prevalent thought. I was grateful here in Quincy to when this first happened. The chief of police contacted myself and Reverend Terry and others to kind of take a proactive view.
He had some very powerful words for the community.
He did, and that was, I think, very necessary as well. But it is indicative of the fact that there are those who just do not value life. When I looked at the video and I see a person 5'2", very thin, in a bathrobe 20 feet away, could not have been a threat to a 6'5" brother, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Could not have been a physical threat in any way. She had no weapon. Her only weapon was water.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like she's going to sling that pot 20 feet.
Exactly. In fact, she'd set the pot down.
She was attempting to, yes.
She was trying to set the pot down, and she did, because then she came up with her hands and said, "I'm sorry," because they were talking about, her comment of "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and not really understanding what was really being said there.
Sure, no question about it.
And so I think that it's indicative of the need for more cross-cultural education. It's indicative of the need for more cross-cultural communication and involvement. And that's not indigenous to Springfield. This has happened all across this nation. This happens all the time. I have experienced how that what I call, and I'm a police chaplain right here in the city of Quincy, and I've experienced that what I call godlike mentality. I'm God, you're going to obey me. Do what I said. And I mean, to do that with such an authoritarian situation that didn't require it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if they approach someone who is armed. Yes. Absolutely, that's when you've got an officer has to take that aggressive, assertive role. But against a poor woman,
but look at the preponderance of things that have happened. Breonna Taylor had no weapon.
Yeah.
George Floyd had no weapon. Yeah. And yet, all of these folk, Philander, all of these folk are gone because of that misunderstanding or that mentality that devalues human life if it's not like yours.
I really appreciate the fact that with Reverend Terry frequently speaks at City Council.
Yes.
And has been more so. And I know you have done several in the past as well. And I really appreciate the message whenever it's brought up and any kind of message that's along these lines. And it's God awful that we have these instances. And it's like we have this awareness and this instance will happen and we'll have rallies and we'll talk about it. And then it just dies down. And then we have another one.
Yes.
I again, that's why I really appreciated what Chief Yates said immediately following this. So you said, very proactive.
Very proactive, and I thank God for him because he did take that proactive. And I had a chance to, in addition to that, to talk to him while watching the video.
Yeah.
And we had a chance to discuss the ramifications of it, and I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of what you're doing, Bob, and Muddy Rivers, in terms of keeping up with these kind of things that are happening, and trying to find ways to make our society better. Thank you for of publicizing the rally that took place in Chicago with Al Sharpton and Ben Crump and so many more on Sonya's behalf.
Also, and again, we had the instance in Macomb in March, and then you see that one. In that one, you see the fact that the man was armed and was using a baby as a human shield. And it was just you look at that stuff, and again, an officer then has to make that decision. And again, you look at that one, it's like it's awful, it's terrible, but the man was armed, and the man is in that case, and it's just like you still don't want it to happen. You still wish there was a way to de-escalate.
Be able to either de-escalate it, or at least if he has to take aggressive action, take action that would protect the child.
Yeah. What somebody
because
said.
Because the child was the innocent.
The problem is that these guys. I mean, again, these guys are trained in the fact that go for the
mass.
You got to do that.
Mass.
Again, they're holding a baby, and it's like you would think, okay, shoot him in the kneecap, but still, it's like you can't. Again, it's I have empathy for the officers who get caught in these situations when it's truly a life-threatening situation. Obviously, Sonya Massey was far from a life-threatening situation,
and when you look at the officer's history, that adds fuel to that same fire. This is a situation where we have to also take a look at our hiring processes.
Yeah.
And
I know it's tough filling jobs these days. I know it's tough finding
but
help.
You just can't take anybody and everybody.
Yeah, you can't just take Barney Fife and put him in that position.
Exactly.
Or Barney Fife on steroids or whatever. But anyway, I was glad when your team reached out to promote the back to school fair. But I also want to talk to you about these other issues too, because again, I don't think we can talk about them enough.
Right, I agree with you. And I want to do all that we can do as a community, as leaders in the community, to help make Quincy a safer place, a nicer place, and a place that we can learn how to get along with one another. The thing that I have often taught at our church, and try to teach it even when I've preached at other churches, and that is this idea of racism. It's a learned trait. It is not innate. God did not create us that way. If you look at a child who's not been exposed to racism, he doesn't care what another person looks like. He just wants to play. But we teach them, you can't play with so-and-so. You can't do this. And when we do, we really do hurt ourselves. And I think that has perpetuated a circumstance that Quincy's had to deal with and wrestle with, and all of us have had to deal with, but we can change it.
Absolutely, because again, those of us who are old enough to remember sundown towns and things like this, and hearing friends and relatives use the N-word and use it yourself when you're a child, and you can change. You can go. You can realize that there's this little bubble here. You can realize there's a big old world out there where everybody should be treated equally
and equally,
with the same grace, with the same equality, regardless of any other factors.
Based on who you are rather than what you look like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No question about it. As always, it is a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
The pleasure is all mine, my brother. And it's so good to share with you. I want to say, keep it up, man.
Thank
You're
you.
doing a great job.
We have a great team here, no question
Yes,
about
you
it.
do.
All right, remember, the Back to School Fair coming up Saturday morning out
Tomorrow
in Iles.
morning, 8 o'clock.
Go to
Back to
Iles
school.
and get your goodies. So that's all the time we have for now. We'll see you next week.